I have a question. I genuinely want to know what comes to everybody's mind when I show them these types of videos.
Parents upset and a school principal apologizing. It's after their middle school students in 7th grade social studies at Challenger Middle School were asked personal questions in a survey as part of an assignment. Wait 31's Matt Kroschel dug into how the controversial survey that was sanctioned ended up in homework. Matt.
And Marie, those questions included things like sexual orientation and asking the students how liberal their parents were. There were 48 questions in this survey. They were not vetted or approved by the school leadership or the district. The principal here at Challenger Middle School saying this survey didn't meet school standards. It's not clear if the teacher who included this in their lesson will face any disciplinary actions by the district because the district said they refused to comment on personnel matters. But the principal did send out an email to parents this week saying the teacher was asked to remove that survey, and now they're apologizing to parents for the error. There was a question about very targeted information about parents, about you asking the kids, are your parents liberal?
Yes, the very last question was, are your parents liberal or progressive in the political thoughts? And the only question or the answer to that was yes, no, or neutral, which I feel is also, once again, very inappropriate to ask a child, and it just asks just for liberal or progressive parents, and it's pretty much targeting conservative parents.
That parent didn't want to use her face on TV or use her name, but again, she's very upset, and she says that she's brought those concerns to the principal, and she's really not happy with the response here. Just that email going out to all the parents says that made their family feel very uncomfortable. She's worried about her student back here in the classroom in that same room with that same teacher. At least that's the current situation inside.
In my mind, as somebody who's deciding on if it's a good idea to become a parent or not, or if I should just keep my semen where I can see it, this creates a level of distrust between a parent and a teacher. Because as a parent, you give birth to a child, you take care of a child, then you send them to a school where they are actively doing things behind your back and not letting you know about them. And yes, it's easy to say, oh, it's discriminating against people. Oh, it's public schools being public schools and you should just homeschool your kids and end the video right here. But you have to have these honest conversations, because if you don't, more and more people are going to grow up thinking a certain way and having a level of distrust from their parents because they're being told that their parents might not accept them, and that would lead to more and more kids believing that their parents are homophobic, transphobic, or discriminatory towards anybody who's different from what they are. And yes, I'm painfully aware about how many of you don't want to have honest conversations with anyone who disagrees with you because you're too entitled and want to live in your own echo chambers. But the more and more you don't talk about something, or the more and more you only talk about it with your buddies inside that echo chamber, the more the problem doesn't find any form of a resolution. I'm pretty sure a lot of people don't want to be labeled as a bunch of groomers who are indoctrinating children, and I'm pretty sure parents don't want to be told that they're harboring hatred towards anybody with a different sexuality. There's a way to do this, and open conversation is the easiest step forward to finding that resolution. And yes, you will have instances where people will take things out of context or blatantly lie about different things being set into law, like the Don't Say Gay bill, where you had a bunch of people crying gay and saying it was homophobic and saying it was discriminatory.
American citizen, I find it truly disgusting that my country goes 40 steps forward just for people like the governor in Florida to take us 30 steps backwards. Don't say gay bill? Are you serious? Don't talk about what I went through and what my fellow gay LGBTQ plus community went through to get me here? Are you serious right now? Is the government sleeping? Why are they letting you do this? Isn't this the free country, the free world, freedom of speech? Don't say gay! That goes against freedom of speech. You cannot sit here and say being gay is not a choice when you're not gay. You don't know that. Now you want to make learning about our history illegal? You are literally making it harder for children to feel comfortable because conservative parents feel like it's not okay. They're not gay. It's not their place to talk about it. Stop being concerned with what other people like.
When in reality, it was giving parents the necessary information that should have been given to them in the first place, knowing the fact that they are the main guardians of a child being sent to a school. And before I continue further, it's important to note that the Don't Say Gay bill is not called the Don't Say Gay bill. I get that that was a cool trend to try to push a bunch of parents and legislators in Florida as a bunch of homophobic bastards. But in reality, all it takes you is a few minutes to read the bill in full, and you will have a clear understanding that it's not being discriminatory, it's not being homophobic, it's letting parents know this is what's going on in the schools and you can approve of it, or if it's something that older kids can be involved in, it has to be age appropriate.
The 7 pages I just read to you, how long did it take me? Did anybody clock me? Who clocked me? I hope somebody clocked me, because all I've seen from people is that, oh, it's gonna be too long. Oh, I can't read it. Oh, I ain't got enough time. Oh, go read the bill. Oh, you go read the bill. I can't have time to read the bill. Oh man, I got too much time on my hand. They got motherfuckers who stream for hours talking about, oh, it's too much to read the bill. Bullshit. It's like just that damn easy. Like read the bill. 7 pages. Probably took me about 10, maybe 20 minutes. For all you streamers, that's nothing. That's legitimately nothing.
I think we can all agree learning basic definitions about things and sexualities is age appropriate. But if you were to get a book that had sexual images in it, I think we can all agree that is not age appropriate. But since people are too lazy to read an 8-page document, and they're also too lazy to actually have somebody read it to them for about 12 to maybe 15 minutes, it's important that you understand the more that you go around just using buzzwords to try to dismiss a bunch of people trying to inform parents about what's going on in schools, the more other states are going to realize, hey, we see a problem with parents being told one thing and schools doing another. We have to take measures to making sure that there's a level of transparency, because if there isn't, there's going to create a bigger divide between parent, student, and teacher. And I'm pretty sure not a lot of people want that. Which brings me to what's going on in South Carolina, because they're moving to cut funding from schools that keep students' gender identity secret from the parents. South Carolina Republican Senator Tim Scott has introduced legislation that will prevent schools from hiding information about a student's gender identity from their parents. The Parental Rights Over the Education and Care of Their Kids Act, or the Protect Kids Act, would require elementary and middle schools that receive federal funds to obtain parental consent before changing a child's name, gender markers, pronouns, or access to sex-based accommodations such as locker rooms or bathrooms. The law in the United States has long recognized the importance of parental rights. A parent's right to oversee the care and education of their child is guaranteed by the 14th Amendment. Parents have a fundamental constitutionally guaranteed right to raise and educate their children in the way they choose. Public schools across the country are violating these fundamental parental and familial rights by deliberately hiding information about gender transitioning children from their parents. The bill then lists several examples of these violations, including the Iowa Public School District that was sued for allowing children as young as 12 to create gender support plans without the knowledge or consent of their parents. Teachers at Montgomery County Public School, Maryland, being instructed to form gender transition plans for students, again without the knowledge or consent from their parents. At Fairfax County Public Schools in Virginia, requiring all teachers to complete a training program saying that parental permission is not required for students who seek to be addressed by different names or pronouns. Regardless of their intentions, the bill states these schools are sabotaging the parent-child relationship and encouraging children to keep secrets from the adults who are charged with protecting and defending them, their parents. Children do their best when their parents are actively involved in their education. School district activist organizations and teachers unions must never be allowed to intrude on parental rights by concealing critical information from the parents about their children. These secrecy policies are widespread throughout the U.S. and Canada. Florida mother and mental health professional January Littlejohn is suing Deer Lake Middle School after staff members transitioned her then 13-year-old daughter without her consent. This is happening all over the nation. The same protocol is in place in many schools across districts everywhere, and even the guides being used to dictate these transgender support plans that cut parents out even have the same language. GenSpec, an international alliance of professionals, parent groups, and detransitioners who seek high-quality care for gender-distressed young people, state that social transition is a psychosocial intervention with lifelong consequences which teachers are neither trained nor licensed to undertake. Several studies have shown that when a child is socially transitioned, they are much more likely to persist and seek medical transitions. And I get it, statistically, people don't want to bring up this point because it's not a factor in their mind, but honestly, when you're talking about transitioning, especially if you want to push this towards kids, you should be capable of talking about the good and the bad. And there are examples of people who have transitioned and they've not only talked about the consequences of that, but they've also talked about how this was a symptom of being peer pressured into doing it and then regretting it. These are people, these are actual human beings who exist that have transitioned, and they have stories about detransitioning. You can cry transphobic all you want, you could say it's discriminatory, but you're actively shutting out people telling their story about how it affected them. And the more you want to sit there and say, well, statistically they're not as important, or it really doesn't happen as much, you're defeating the entire point of listening to a bunch of people with a story. And the point of this entire video is not to sit here and say, hurrah, I hate kids learning about gays and transgenders. I don't want to see anybody transition. I hate all transgenders. It's none of that. It's to say the more you keep doing underhanded tactics to try to get your own egos fixated on children, the more people are going to step in and say, what are you doing with my son? What are you doing with my daughter? They're going to keep a close eye on their children. Why? Because they had coitus to make that child, and they birthed that child, and they feed that child, they protect that child, they use that child to get money on taxes. They're going to make sure their child is raised in a way that is civilized, not by some underhanded tactics by a bunch of people who want to confuse a bunch of kids. I think this is a good bill, just like how I thought the Don't Say Gay bill was a good bill. Why? Because it's letting parents know what's going on in the schools. And if you have a problem with that, you are showing your ass in the worst way possible, because you're saying parents shouldn't know about what's going on in their kids' lives. They shouldn't know what's going on behind closed doors. They shouldn't even have any knowledge about this, and kids should keep it a secret. And that is the dumbest thing anybody could do. And if you really want to have that stance, congratulations. You are somebody I would never have around any of my children. Subscribe to the channel. I'll see y'all in the next one. Goodbye.